Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Force Fandom, a show where one person tries to force another to like the things that they love. This season, I'm forcing journalist Emily Bamforth to love Twin Peaks, or at least I'm trying to. Emily, how are you doing? Welcome back to the show.
Good. I'm doing really well. Trying might be the operative word here.
Really, you had a hard time with this week's episode, which was episode 2, Traces to Nowhere?
Yeah, a little bit. It was a little hard getting through it. Even though it wasn't like a movie length episode like last time, it took a lot of there were still a bunch of characters being introduced, which is continually hard to keep up with.
You know, that's really fair. I think these first 2 episodes do struggle by from just the amount of characters that are in this show. There are a couple scenes here as I was rewatching that I was like, yeah, this really didn't need to be in this episode. It could have been like 2 episodes down the line, but I think it does okay for what it's trying to do.
Okay, well, let's get to the real meat here.
Yeah, let's
Do
walk through it. So did you have a question?
yes.
Go ahead.
Do you ship Audrey and Agent Cooper?
Audrey and Cooper?
Yeah. Do you ship them?
I do not ship them, and it's mostly because I just don't like Audrey that much. I think Audrey's kind of a bitch, and so no, I don't ship them. Do you?
No, I don't. Because as soon as I saw that thing happening within the first 5 minutes, I was like, nope, get out of there. Get out of there real
But a
quick.
lot of viewers at the time did ship them. It was a big deal.
Do people actually like Audrey?
Yes, people love Audrey.
Why?
I don't know how to explain it. They just do. People on r/Twin Peaks, when you watch this, please feel free to explain to Emily, based on the first 2 episodes, why you love Audrey. I'm very intrigued to read your answers. I'm sure
Yeah,
Emily is too.
I am. I do. I do know that they will make their opinions known, as they did when they heard I didn't like Donna in the last episode.
Yeah, Emily said she wanted to punch Donna last episode, and everyone in our Twin Peaks was like, I think you spelled that wrong. I think you mean you want to punch James.
That was really funny. And I do too want to punch James in the face. Donna, in this episode at least, became slightly less punchable.
So, do you want to talk about the characters in order of characters, or do you want to go by the order that things happen in the episode?
Let's do plot line.
Let's do plotline.
Let's go with the plot-driven version of this.
Okay. So, we open the episode with Cooper at the Great Northern. He's talking to Diane in his inversion boots.
Okay, what's up with that?
There's no reason for it.
Like, does he get a rush from
I don't
being
know.
upside down? Like, what? And honestly, if this whole thing with Audrey takes off, Diane's gonna be super pissed. I ship Diane and Agent Cooper.
That's a good ship. I can climb aboard that ship. So Cooper has breakfast. I love his breakfast order of 2 eggs over hard, bacon, super crispy, cremated, and freshly squeezed grapefruit juice.
Why? It was very Ron Swanson of him.
It was. But I think they're just playing up the fact that he's supposed to be really eccentric.
And very detail oriented.
Yeah. So then he goes to the sheriff's office, and everyone is halfway through a donut.
I noticed that too. I was like, wow, they have a lot of donuts for the average sheriff's department.
They
They
just
don't
eat a ridiculous amount of donuts.
The hospital doesn't have, a CAT scanner, but the sheriff's department can afford to eat that many donuts.
So Cooper goes to the bathroom, and we cut to Shelley and Leo's house.
Okay, this is the hardest part of the show to watch for me is this relationship. It's really rough. It's really rough. In between all of the Agent Cooper being eccentric and the weird dialogue and the random people walking through and these crazy random characters, there's a very, very sad storyline here.
Yeah, you become very, very quickly aligned with Shelley.
Yeah.
And of course, she finds the shirt in the laundry covered in blood. Any thoughts on that?
Probably not her blood.
Well, it's not her blood, it's Leo's shirt.
No, that's what I mean. It's probably not Laura's
Oh, you
blood.
don't think it's Laura's blood?
I don't think it's Laura's, bro. That's too easy. Like, obviously, it's not going to be the guy who is violent towards his wife because
Yeah.
that's too obvious. It's too obvious.
Well,
You're
and
not
you
gonna...
also come at this from the benefit of knowing there are going to be two seasons of this show.
Yeah, but at the same time, even like that seems like a very like easy thing to drop in to try to mislead people.
And you have more faith in the show than that?
Yeah, I do.
I'm glad to hear that. Okay, so from there we get Cooper and Sheriff Truman questioning James at the police station.
hmm
And there are a few interesting points here. Do you remember much of that conversation?
Well, James was there, and I
Which is
tuned
already a
out.
problem for you because you don't like James.
I just tuned out. I'm sorry. I
Okay,
was like,
so,
it's not him, so why do I care?
well, he saw Laura on the day that she died,
Yes,
and he thought that she was afraid of someone, maybe Bobby.
yes.
They
It's
asked,
not Bobby either.
interesting.
IMO. IMO.
So Cooper asks if Laura's been using cocaine, and James says he doesn't do cocaine with her. He was trying to get her to stop, but she started again.
hmm
And then on that night, they were on the motorcycle and stopped at a red light, and Laura got off and ran away into the woods. And that was the last he ever saw her.
Not a good call, Laura. Stop walking into the woods. PSA, young women, do not walk into woods.
That's fair. So do you? I mean, how do you feel about James after this, like, fairly honest interview,
I
particularly
mean,
compared to Bobby's interview?
I think that he's a nice. It's hard because, like, you can't trust anybody at this point. And maybe James is a little bit more clever than I give him credit for, but I doubt it.
You just
But
think he's dumb.
I think he's a simple guy with simple interests who just is being, maybe he's being honest. I think maybe he's being honest. Maybe that's what's drawing like Donna and Laura to him is that he's honest and like he seems nice. Like you like with other guys like Robbie around, like what are you really going to go for? You know what I mean?
Right. So then back at the or once I guess James leaves, Cooper gets a long distance call. You can tell because it has that sound like wind blowing through trees.
Yeah.
I just like that line.
By the way, I'm still obsessed with two things about Agent Cooper. And the first is that in the opening memo to Diane, he was like, I can smell the Douglas firs. Like the faint smell of Douglas fir permeates everywhere. And then also he's like on this long distance phone call, he's like, you should come here. There's pie here.
And he eats pie in this episode. This is the first time we see him eat pie.
This is the first time we encounter the character of pie.
Yes. Okay, so that's not really important. It's just kind of funny. Big Ed is at the sheriff's office. I know you like Big Ed.
He's the man.
He thinks he was drugged at the roadhouse.
Yeah, that's not neat.
No. Any other thoughts on that?
No.
Okay, I'm kind of breezing through this middle section because not a lot happens.
Yeah, I know. I got distracted.
Um,
I was listening to it. I wasn't watching it. I was listening to it.
you finally got to actually spend some time with Nadine.
Oh, Nadine. Nadine and her solution for the blinds. Good job, Nadine.
You
You may only
understand now why in the pilot she's just like pulling the blinds over and over again.
she may only have one eye, but she sees all of those, Nadine.
I love Nadine and hate her at the same time. I don't know how you feel.
I I just think she's crazy. I'm just like, okay, cool. Thanks for that, Nadine. Go home and enjoy your cotton pads or cotton balls.
So now we get into some real plot. We had some quirky stuff, and I know that you're not a fan of some of the quirky stuff, but I want to talk about some pretty major plot points that come up.
Like the log lady.
Well, the log lady comes later. We'll come back to the log lady.
Oh, I love the log lady.
I'm glad. The log lady is great.
Dedicate a whole episode to the log lady.
They kind of do, but that's a different story. So they go to interview Josie, and other than a fish being in the coffee,
Fish in the percolator.
Yeah, okay. So Josie tells them that on the last day that she saw Laura, Laura said she knows how Josie felt after the death of her husband.
Mm.
What do you think about that?
I think there's another guy involved. There has to be this other guy floating around, but I don't know where he's coming from. You know what I
What kind
mean?
of...
Like,
no, I don't know what you mean. Please explain.
please explain, because you are talking nonsense. Like, I don't... From that statement, I'm concluding that there is another guy in the mix that we don't know about. And I think that that's where that statement came from, instead of, like, unless she and James had a bigger fight than I can remember, because no, they didn't, because that was the last time he saw her.
Yeah, he presumably sees her after she has this conversation with Josie.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know where that statement came from. What bothers me and what is probably going to keep me, like, interested is I don't know a lot about Laura. Like, I just don't. And I know that she's, like, a homecoming queen, and I know she, like, organizes Meals on Wheels, but also she, like, does cocaine. And, like, I can't predict anything that she's doing or unravel anything she's saying at this point, because I don't know her.
And also she's dead.
Also, she's dead. I mean, it's very hard for me to get to know this person because she is dead.
Right.
Statements that need to be made.
So, after that, Catherine calls Josie and tells her how much her shenanigans cost the mill.
Yeah.
And then we learn that Catherine and Benjamin Horne are sleeping together and planning to burn down the mill.
Yes.
I know you said you weren't interested in lumber mill politics, but is this starting to get you more interested, or are you just like, bleh?
Nope. Seen this storyline before. Don't need to see it again. I do. The only thing I gleaned from that scene is that, like, Catherine was sitting on the bed and she had wrapped herself very weirdly. Like, she was sitting on the bed in, like, a burrito. And it was very weird. And I was like, cool, these people are conspiring, whatever. Why is she sitting like that? It's very strange.
I actually have some thoughts on that, but I don't know if we want to talk about that.
Talk about what?
Well, there was somebody else that was wrapped up kind of like a burrito earlier in this series.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Yeah, so maybe some symbolism there. I don't know. You're the first person who I have ever heard talk about that. I never really noticed that she was wrapped up weird. But now that I think back on that scene, I think you're right.
She's wrapped up weird. Like, people who have just, like, slept with each other don't, like, sit like this wrapped up. Like, they don't, as far as I know.
Yeah, it's an interesting shot for sure. And this is Twin Peaks, so a lot of things that seem meaningless may actually be super meaningful.
He also needs to buy some better ties.
It's 1989. Cut the guy some slack.
Okay.
All right. So after that, we go to the Palmer's house.
Yeah, with her crazy visions.
Yeah, so Donna comes over.
Yeah.
And is consoling Mrs. Palmer. And why don't you give us your version of what happens?
So she's consoling Mrs. Palmer, and all of a sudden, Mrs. Palmer sees Laura's face on Donna's face, and then starts screaming. No, then she goes, oh my baby, starts hugging her, but looks over her shoulder and sees this man which we haven't seen him before, have we?
No.
Okay, just this random dude with like medium length hair, and he's like, "I'm under a table," and she's like, "Ah!" and gets and freaks out. And then everybody starts just being very confused. I feel bad for poor Donna because she's like, "I came to help," and now she's screaming for no apparent reason. And um, yeah, that was very weird. That was very, very weird. Also, I don't know why she keeps having these visions. I like that they just randomly like wrote in a like psychic subplot or something to that effect.
So let's talk about that. Do you think that she is like some sort of psychic? She's having visions.
Well, either that or she is being haunted by information that we don't know yet.
Okay. And who do you think the man is? What do you think is going on there?
I have no idea. I
So
have
what
no idea who that guy is.
so what was your reaction to this scene? I'm curious.
Well, A, please stop screaming. Like, I hate when she does that. Um, that was the first reaction. The second was just like a general, like, this is going to be important later and I'm going to understand it at some point. But this right now, I have no idea what's going on. And that was kind of like a theme for the episode is I was like, most of this will probably be important at some point, but I cannot discern it now. Like, I do not understand.
So I guess based on what you saw in the pilot, does it feel like the tone is roughly the same or like
Um, I think it's a little bit lighter than the pilot, obviously, because nobody is discovered murdered in this episode. It's just dealing with the aftermath. I think it's a lot lighter. I think it's probably going to be more similar to how the rest of it goes. Because it's just like it seems like it's like stutter starting a little bit. Like it's like trying to get into the rhythm of it, but you've still got a lot of characters to get through before you can actually get to the plot. So I'm incredibly optimistic.
but as far as the plot itself, do you feel like how do you feel about the tone of the plot?
Um, it's a little haphazard.
Okay.
Like there are very like funny moments, but then there are also incredibly grim moments, and then there are moments that don't seem to have any particular purpose. And I don't mind that. I think that that will work itself out, hopefully. But right now, it's just like it's hard to figure out. There's no set tone right now for me, and that kind of bothers me.
So you finished the episode and you didn't really feel any particular way.
I just felt like I needed to get through it.
Okay.
That's all. Like when I watched Breaking Bad, it was comparable to that. Like I didn't like the pilot and the second episode of Breaking Bad. I thought it was really slow, and I thought that there were a lot of things that needed to get set up. And then there was that third episode, and after that, I was hooked. So I'm really hoping that that's what happens here.
Okay. Well, we have a few more plot points to get through before we get like final thoughts on this episode. So after the scene at the Palmers, we visit the Pulaskis in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And just learn that her parents didn't really see her on the day that she
Yeah.
disappeared.
That was, yeah.
Any other thoughts on the hospital?
Nope, no thoughts on that. I didn't, yeah. I just was like, okay. I was absorbing information at that point.
Nothing struck you as odd about the hospital?
No? Did I miss something?
No.
No, not at all.
There are a few hints at future plot points there, but
Oh, so I'm gonna have to go back and watch it after.
no, you won't. I think as a first-time viewer, it's not a huge deal.
Mm-hmm.
But as a repeat viewer, I was catching things that I didn't catch the first few times.
Okay.
So then we go back to the Great Northern, and we get to spend some quality time with Audrey and her father.
Because, that's just what the doctor ordered.
How do you feel about that?
Yeah. She's screwed up. Like, she really is. I can tell that she's not a brat because she's just that way. Well, in some ways she's just that way, but it's just like a screwed up family. It's a really screwed up family.
So the whole line, like, Laura died 2 days ago, I lost you years ago.
Yeah, I was like, oh, dude, like, what were you, like, why would you say that to her? Like, I know she sticks pencils in like coffee cups and sends all the Swiss,
Norwegians.
Norwegian, something Eastern European. Um, you sent all that home, but like, calm down. That's your daughter. Like, you don't get to say that she's basically dead to you at this point.
Well, he did, so deal with it. Uh,
I won't deal with it. I feel bad for Audrey. There, I said it. I said it. I feel bad for Audrey.
a sharp change in opinions here.
I generally don't like her as a person, but I feel bad for her.
Okay. So then we go to the Briggs household to spend
Mm.
time with Bobby and his parents.
Oh yes. Oh, that was bad. Nobody knows how to parent around here, do they? Except Donna's parents. Donna's parents are awesome.
Okay, we'll just leave that conversation at that. Um, we got to go to the Double R Diner where
Yeah,
Cooper eats some pie, and
he
we
does.
talked to everyone's favorite Twin Peaks resident, the Log Lady.
Love her so much.
I figured
She's
you
so
would.
great.
So,
Somebody asked me, like, I think it was like an hour ago, somebody asked me and was like, have you watched Twin Peaks? And I was like, yes. And they're like, what did you think? And I'm like, I love the log lady. And they were like, she's just a lady who carries a log. And I'm like, I don't care. It's the simple pleasures.
so her log does have something to say to Agent Cooper.
But Agent Cooper won't ask it. How rude.
What do you think the log has to say?
Like I know what a log has to say. I would ask the log. I need Agent Cooper to ask the log. He is obviously not acclimated to this town yet.
That's
Like
fair.
he's just not, because if he was, he would have asked the log.
What would you ask the log?
What would I ask the log?
Yeah.
What information do you know? That's what I would have asked the log. I don't have any very specific questions, but something tells me that once that log gets going, it's going to be very chatty.
All right. So they talk to Norma at the diner, who doesn't really have a whole lot to say.
Generally doesn't.
And then we go back to the Johnsons for an encounter between Leo and Shelley.
Soap in the sock. Soap in the sock.
Critics at the time said this was one of the most uncomfortable scenes they had seen on television in years.
Yeah, it's still one of the most uncomfortable things that I've seen on television in years. And that goes with like expanding like avenues for violence and like and just general like I don't know. I feel like the guidelines are very, very relaxed now on showing this kind of thing, and almost like shows have kind of geared towards showing violence and tackling things that have to do with violence. But I could see back then that being a huge thing, a huge scandalous thing. But it still hits home. Like it still hits home right now. It's a terrible scene, and it's one that like I just sat there afterwards and I'm like, I just feel so bad that this is happening.
Yeah, every time I watch that, it's difficult.
It's really hard. And with like the rest of the show being the way it is, it's even more difficult to watch.
Mm-hmm. So they fade to black for commercial, and presumably when they come back from the break, James is at the Haywards for dinner.
Oh, James.
And
Meeting the parents.
yeah, and
Getting some punch.
and getting some punch. And Bobby and Mike are outside saying how they want to kill him for stealing their girlfriends.
Yeah, valid.
And so then we get the final scene of the episode. And I don't know if you've caught on, but the end of every Twin Peaks episode is a really good cliffhanger for the next Twin Peaks episode.
I think I've gotten that.
Yeah, I was going to say, you've watched two, and they have pretty good cliffhangers, so you're probably... How do you feel about this cliffhanger?
I would. What exactly happens again?
So, do you know who that man is?
No.
Okay.
Oh, right, the doctor thing. The doctor thing is at the end of the episode.
Yeah, so
Um,
that's Dr. Jacoby.
yeah. Where is he from? Because like have we seen him?
Yeah, he was at the hospital.
Oh, he was dealing with that the girl.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And
I
Cooper
remember now.
and Truman briefly talked to him. Laura was a patient of his.
Yeah. He's obsessed with Hawaii.
Yes.
Yes. And then Laura tells him this whole thing. I don't understand it. It's one of those things where it's not like a shock and horror thing because I just don't understand it. Like I don't understand what connection he has with Laura at all.
Well, she's giving him these tapes.
Yeah,
that
but
are
why?
I don't remember if they reveal it. Like, I'm sure they reveal it, I just don't particularly remember the intricacies of why she's giving him the tapes.
No, they reveal that she's giving him the tapes, and then she starts talking about something, and then he puts his headphones on.
Yes. Do you remember what she's talking about?
No.
Okay, so she talks about James
Yes.
and
Oh,
how...
James is so sweet, but he's so dumb,
Yes.
which
What...
is a conversation that I have had in the past. But I was like, I feel you. But then she was like, this other guy, there's another guy. There's another guy.
Yes. And there are two other things she says.
And I can't remember.
She says, I think I'm going to get lost in those woods again tonight.
Yes. Which, once again, do not go into the woods.
All right.
Taylor, as a great prophet, Taylor Swift said, are we out of the woods yet? Are we out of the woods?
Maybe she was talking about Twin Peaks.
Surprise, Taylor Swift's a huge Twin Peaks fan.
And so then she talks about the other man is the other thing.
Yes, and that's when he puts the
headphones on and starts crying.
Yeah. I really want to know why she's giving him these tapes. That's like the big thing is I'm like, why is she talking to him? What is their relationship? Why is he treating this like he didn't really know her? I guess.
Oh, you think he's downplaying their relationship to the cops?
Yeah, a little bit.
Interesting.
Because it seems like they knew each other very well. Like, he's crying at the sound of something she was saying. So maybe this other man, he knows that that's the reason she died. And that's why he's crying.
And you noticed what he had?
A coconut and a half of the
The
heart.
other half of the heart.
Yeah.
How do you think he got a hold of that?
I don't think he dug it out of the ground.
You don't think so?
No. I think he got it from Laura.
So you think that there are multiple halves of this heart then? There are like...
I think there are a couple necklaces involved.
Okay.
There have to be like a couple necklaces.
So then who do you think has the one that James and Donna hid and then got dug out of the ground?
Okay, so there's that half of the heart, right? Maybe there's only one. There's that half of the heart that was in the ground. Then there was the other half. Was that found with Laura? Was there a heart found with her? Okay.
It was either found with her or it was in the safety deposit box. Either way, the police have it.
The police have it. And then there's this other half, but I don't know how he would know to go to the woods and grab it unless he was following James and Donna, and I don't think he was. So there must be multiple things happening here. Because if there was this other man, maybe she was giving him the other half of that heart? I don't know. Laura seems like the type of girl who's like, I'm just going to give out these mementos everywhere.
Are you talking smack about Laura? Is that what I'm hearing?
Laura is a teenage girl. That's all I'm saying. She seems like someone who gets a lot of attention and maybe doesn't know the right way to handle it.
Interesting. An interesting read. So, what do you think of this whole double life Laura's leading with cocaine and boys and all of this stuff.
I mean, what do I think of it in terms of like
Just in
how,
general, I mean, what does
I
it make you
mean,
feel about her as a character? What do you think its significance is?
I think that when you grow up in a town like Twin Peaks, there's going to be definitely a part of you that wants to get into that. And definitely a part of you that wants to get into something bigger. And maybe that's what she wanted to do. We don't know a whole lot about, well, you know a lot about Laura. I don't know a whole lot about Laura yet. And maybe she wanted to get out. And it seems like these teenagers are all kind of acting up because it's a very small town and they know everyone. And it's bound to happen. Like it's bound to happen that it's one of those things where like it's a tiny surprise and then you're like, oh, I've heard that storyline 1,000 times. Like good girl gets bored, meets a guy, snorts cocaine, etc., etc., etc.
Okay. So
Don't you hear that storyline all the time? I hear that storyline all the
right,
time.
yeah. Okay, so
I'm not blaming Laura for what happened to her. That is something I do want to say. I'm not blaming Laura because she went into this probably with, yeah, I don't know. She's a teenage girl. It's hard.
okay. So overall, 2 episodes in, how do you feel about the show?
I As I said before, I'm optimistic. And that's all I can really say at this point. I feel like things have been set up. I hope that the next episode is slightly more gripping than this one. Um, I hope that Agent Cooper doesn't hook up with Audrey because that would suck. Um, I hope Donna doesn't end up dead somewhere. That would be bad. I hope Robbie doesn't kill
Bobby?
James. Robbie, Bobby, this is all the same.
You don't want Bobby to kill James, even though you don't like James.
I don't want anyone to die. I know somebody else is going to die, but I don't know who. So
Interesting.
I'm optimistic. I'm very optimistic about how this is going to go. I see why people like it, but right now I'm not invested.
Fair enough. Well, we'll see if we can get you hooked with next week's episode, Zen or the Skill to Catch a Killer. Until then,
Ooh.
yeah, it's one of the best episode titles in the series, in my opinion. So until then, we will be watching Twin Peaks, and if people want to talk to you about it, where can they find you?
You can always contact both Taylor and I on hashtag Forced Fandom. Share your thoughts, but not your spoilers. You can find me at Emily Bamforth on Twitter. And the episode should be posted in our Twin Peaks. And I think that's it. Feel free to tweet at me and let me know your thoughts.
Yeah, and you can follow me at TC Olmstead. We're also posting the show on Tumblr now, forcedfandom.tumblr.com. So if you have
Because we're hip.
Yeah, so if you have any questions for myself or Emily during the next few episodes, please put them in our Tumblr inbox, and we'll try and answer a few questions on air. And thanks so much, everybody, and we'll see you next week for more Twin Peaks.